I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Senator Ben Cardin spoke about key investments included in the bipartisan infrastructure bill on Tuesday. The Maryland Democrat took to the Senate floor as he listed a wide range of problems with American infrastructure, including record-high traffic fatalities and deteriorating bridges. The Small Business Committee chair highlighted 3 key elements of the infrastructure legislation that will tackle these problems. Take a listen to his remarks.
Mr. President.
Senator from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday, I was in southern Maryland at the Thomas Johnson Bridge. This bridge was built in the 1970s, connects St. Mary's County and with Culver County. There's critical facilities that are located in this region. I say that because this is an evacuation route. We have Culver Cliffs Nuclear Power Plant. We have Pax River. We have the Cove Point LNG facilities. When it was built, a few thousand cars traversed the bridge on a daily basis. Now over 30,000 cars traverse this bridge. It's not safe. It's a 2-lane bridge, and it needs to be replaced. Major accidents occur on a regular basis, causing incredible congestion, as well as risking people's health. So I was there at the invitation of Senator Van Hollen. He could not make physically to be there, but he helped arrange for a congressional earmark to help advance the replacement of this bridge. And I say that because we need to deal with traffic safety in this country, and replacing unsafe bridges is just one part of that program. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's 2021 Fatality Report was just recently released, and the numbers are shocking. Nearly 43,000 people lost their lives on our highways in 2021. This is the highest numbers since 2005. We're moving in the wrong direction on traffic safety. It's the largest increase and fatalities since we've been keeping the records since 1975. Pedestrian and bicyclists, nearly 7,500 lost their lives in 2021. And if you look at the deaths between 2010 and 2019, 53,435 people, pedestrians, were killed as a result of traffic accidents. The impact is disproportionate in communities of color. In its report, Dangers by Design, Smart Growth America found that older adults, people of color, and people walking in low-income communities are disproportionately represented in the fatal crashes involving people walking, even after controlling for differences in population size and walking rates. The fatality rate in the lowest income neighborhoods was nearly twice that of the middle income census tracts and almost 3 times that of higher income neighborhoods. If you had a friend or a family member killed or injured by a roadway collision, then the issue of safety is a personal one. The reality of the situation, however, is that this is an issue that affects all of us. All safety instances cause delays and congestion on our roads, and these delays are disruptive. They make us late to pick up our kids from daycare. We miss important meetings. Our levels of anxiety rise as we sit in traffic, frustrated as our cars burn fuel in stop-and-go traffic, sending excess pollution into the air we breathe. All this hurts our wallets, our health, and our sense of well-being. With new data sources, analytical tools, the Center for Advanced Transportation Technology, the CAT Lab at the University of Maryland, has been able to quantitate some of the other impacts. Using numbers from the CAT Lab, analysts consider as conservative for the value of time placed on commercial vehicles and the traveling public, they found that there were nearly $8 billion in user delays caused due to safety instances on National Highway System roadways in 2019. Safety-related incidents accounted for over 18% of all congestion and over 300 million vehicle hours of delay. And this, Mr. President, is just on our national highway system, not our local roads. Imagine if we could get back those 300 million hours of time to be with our families, to be more productive at work, to be more creative, and live happier lives. Imagine if we could get back the $8 billion This is something that is obviously a concern to everyone. The worst thing that we could do at this critical moment is to be complacent, to shrug our shoulders and say this is just the price we pay to have cars and the so-called freedom that our cars provide. For those who have lost a loved one to a collision, this is an unacceptable price. And it should be unacceptable to all of us because we can do better and we must do better. I applaud the Biden administration and the Department of Transportation for putting forth a national roadway safety strategy earlier this year that adopts a long-term goal of 0 roadway fatalities. The plan takes a comprehensive look at safety and all the pieces needed to help us tackle this challenge, from safer drivers to safer vehicles to more effective after-crash care. All these components are necessary. Today, however, I just want to focus on our roads. Yes, we need individual drivers to do their part, to slow down, stay focused, and be alert. Yes, we need new technologies for safer vehicles. This is true, but it's not enough. What we need now more urgently than ever is better infrastructure and safer roadways. Therefore, fixing this problem is not about halting construction, it's about building. We need the infrastructure, but the kind of infrastructure that will provide safety. We need better sidewalks, better bike paths, and better intersections. And in many places, we need to remove the vast expanses of pavement that have for so long facilitated speeding and restore the network of neighborhood streets that facilitate connections and support communities and children. This is the infrastructure that will be better for businesses too. Many communities have found that small businesses aren't helped by roads that make it easier for cars to speed right by. They are helped by safe places for customers and employees to walk around and spend time. We need the infrastructure, but we need the right kind of infrastructure. This year, we have a historic opportunity to change course and invest in infrastructure we need for stronger communities and safer roadways through the bipartisan infrastructure law. But we have to be deliberate and determined in sizing this opportunity. I was proud to be part of the Environment and Public Works Committee. I chaired the Infrastructure Subcommittee. We worked together, Democrats and Republicans, to produce a bipartisan surface transportation bill, a bipartisan WRDA bill, Water Resources Development Act. They were incorporated into the bipartisan infrastructure package. I am proud of that work. The bipartisan infrastructure law provides several new policy tools and funding to help us address safety on our roads. I would like to highlight 3 important programs in the infrastructure law that will play a vital role in helping us to change course. First, the bipartisan infrastructure law provides $15.6 billion for Highway Safety Improvement Program, which is one of our long-standing formula programs whose purpose is, in statute, is to achieve a significant reduction in traffic fatalities and serious injuries on all public roads. These are formula funds that go to our states. With the enactment of the infrastructure law, the Highway Safety Improvement Program will now incorporate a consideration of a safe systems approach which aims to protect vulnerable road users from the start, from the designing of our roads. A consortium, the Johns Hopkins Center for Injury Research and Policy, convened has highlighted the importance of a safe system approach based on a wealth of evidence-based research. Their report said that a safe system approach begins with a commitment to eliminate fatalities and serious injuries among all road users and uses thoughtful road and vehicle design to minimize crashes that occur when people make mistakes and reduce crash forces so that people are less likely to be injured when crashes occur. By designing safety into the road system, deaths and serious injuries are engineered out. That's what the report pointed out. Here again, the message is clear. We cannot simply wait for all drivers to be error-free. We need to design and build better roadways. Under the new and improved Highway Safety Improvement Program that the bipartisan infrastructure bill will deliver, every state is required to complete a vulnerable road user safety assessment to study where and when fatalities and serious injuries are occurring, including a demographic breakdown to ensure equity considerations are incorporated. States must identify projects and strategies to reduce the risk to pedestrians and cyclists. States in which vulnerable users represent 15% or more of all roadway fatalities must spend 15% of their federal highway safety improvement program dollars on vulnerable user safety. Based on 2016 to 2018 fatality rates, 28 states would have to spend at least $200 million on improvements like sidewalks, bike lanes, crosswalks, and others. This is a major step forward to facing up to the problem and taking action to address it. The second issue in the bipartisan infrastructure practice I want to talk about is a major expansion of the Transportation Alternative Program. I'm particularly proud about this program. I authored this program, originally with Senator Cochran, but later with Senator Wicker. The two of us have worked together to connect communities together through pedestrian and bicycle paths so that pedestrians don't have to be on highways in order to get around their community. Transportation Alternatives is such a critical program because it supports priorities local communities identify for projects to make roads safer and more accessible. This is one of the few programs where our local governments make the determinations. Transportation Alternatives have funded projects that have improved the quality of life in all kinds of communities across the country, in every congressional district, and in big cities and in rural areas. The infrastructure law increases funding for the Transportation Alternatives to 10% of the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program, which amounts to $7.2 billion over 5 years. The infrastructure law also specifies that projects under the Safe Routes to School program are an eligible use for funds under the Transportation Alternative Program. Safe Routes Partnership is an organization that has worked with us on the Transportation Alternative Program. It has helped governments implement Safe Routes to School initiatives to make it safer, more convenient, and fun for children to walk and bicycle to school. In Montgomery County, Maryland, crashes involving people walking or biking near schools decreased by 25 to 42% after Safe Routes to School efforts provided engineering improvements like better crosswalks and signs. And by providing the opportunity to walk and bike to school, we can improve safety, promote health, and physical activity. Through initiatives like Safe Routes to Schools, the Transportation Alternatives Program is poised to make a major contribution to delivering on local demands to become more walkable, more bike-friendly, and safer for all road users. Now, the third program I want to highlight from the infrastructure law is Reconnecting Communities, which will deliver $1 billion to addressing an outstanding equity challenge related to our transportation infrastructure. We held a hearing about the need for this program last year in the Transportation and Infrastructure Subcommittee. The building of our national highway system from the 1950s was in many ways a great national achievement, a major public investment in our infrastructure that transformed our country and that we continue to rely on today. But for far too many communities, especially communities of color, ethnic communities, and urban centers, the construction of our highways had traumatic impact and destructive impact. Rather than connecting their communities and expanding their opportunities, highway construction brought demolition, displacement, isolation, and exclusion. I consider it a major achievement that we finally have a federal program focused on addressing this harmful legacy. My own city of Baltimore struggles with lasting impacts today that includes unsafe and unhealthy conditions for families trying to navigate their city. I specifically refer to the Franklin Mulberry corridor in downtown Baltimore, where you have a highway that was constructed, never completed, that divided existing communities, and that division still exists today, making it more difficult for people to live in that community. So we absolutely should view the Reconnecting Communities program in the bipartisan infrastructure bill will establish a program to improve safety as it also addresses long-standing inequity in our infrastructure. And it is a program that is about building the right kind of infrastructure, not just removing barriers. After we remove the old infrastructure that no longer serves our needs, we need to replace it with the kinds of infrastructure we need more of, such as better sidewalks, neighborhood street grids, signs and crosswalks and parks that a neighborhood can appreciate and grow. So we see how the infrastructure law provides new opportunities and multiple programs that can complement and reinforce each other to build better infrastructure and safer infrastructure. I've just highlighted 3 ways in which the bipartisan infrastructure law can do this: delivering better and safer roads for Americans and bringing down the unacceptable high numbers of traffic fatalities and injuries, the new Highway Safety Improvement Program, transportation alternatives, and reconnecting communities. And this list is not exclusive. The infrastructure law does even more. Just last week, the Department of Transportation officials announced the availability of $5 billion over 5 years for a new program focused on safety established by the infrastructure law. The law also provides a mandate to update the manual on uniform traffic control devices to give local governments more flexibility to implement safety measures. I could go on and on. The bottom line is that we have a lot of work to do, and setting this new policy is just the beginning. We need leaders at all levels of government to take on this challenge. I talked about the transportation alternatives, which will now receive a full 10% of the Surface Transportation Block Grant funds. But 10% is just that, 10%. We cannot have 10% of our funds working for safer roads and 90% of our funds working to make them less safe. We need safety prioritized and integrated in all of our infrastructure investments. I talked about Reconnecting Communities, a new $1 billion program to remove barriers that have harmed and isolated neighborhoods from opportunity. But we cannot have $1 billion working to remove these barriers and billions of more dollars spent erecting new barriers. We need to build the right kind of infrastructure that we need for our future, not continue on the same path we have been on the past, the path that has led to 43,000 deaths in 2021 alone. To accept the status quo would be the most dangerous and radical course of action. Again, I applaud the Department of Transportation for announcing a new national roadway safety strategy in January that thinks through safety across all of the department's programs and authorities. We need this leadership from the federal level, and the Biden administration is providing it. And as we implement the infrastructure law and begin to make generational investments to improve our nation's infrastructure, we will need all levels of government working together. The challenge of our dangerous roads requires all of us to pay attention. But the benefits of investing to make our transportation network safer cannot be overstated. If we use the infrastructure law to its greatest potential with respect to safety, we will have a stronger, more productive economy and a healthier, more just America. With that, Mr. President, I would yield the floor and suggest the absence of a quorum.